We are so close to entering the holiday season, and this is such a time of year where there's so many emotions, a lot of joy, a lot of giving, a lot of thankfulness, but it can also lead to like disappointment and hurt feelings. And if I've learned anything from a certain video, it's that this has happened a lot, and there's a few things that I think we're kind of doing to ourselves to set us up for this. And the main thing is like imposing our own expectations onto other people. Let me explain. So this time of year, a lot of us are thinking ahead to Christmas time and what we're going to be doing, who we're going to be seeing, who we want to give gifts to. And oftentimes the people receiving these gifts don't really have any idea of how much effort and time and planning and money went into them. And it's easy to just kind of expect everyone to know how much heart and soul and time and money that went into that particular item, when in fact they have no clue. And sadly, another aspect is we expect people to value those things. And unfortunately, not everyone does. And there's a ton of different reasons. And, it is sad, but unfortunately, not everyone appreciates handmade items. Not everyone likes that stuff. I think my cat is about to cause an avalanche. I will be right back. Here's the culprit right here. But yeah, not everyone values things, and it is sad, but that's just the reality of it. We obviously value it because we do it, but that's just not true for everyone. Some people are even super clueless and don't even realize something is handmade. They're really, you wouldn't think people could be that clueless, but they honestly are. So combine those factors with the idea that I think a lot of us this time of year overestimate the time we have available to make things, and then put ourselves into a position where we are overextended, and we might be staying up late or neglecting other things that need to be done, and sacrificing to complete all of these gift items we have in our mind that we think we absolutely have to do. And it just exacerbates it when the items don't get the reaction or even the acknowledgement that we believe they should. So what can we do about this to protect ourselves, basically from being in that position? And I think the way to look at this, if you go into that video of mine, you see how hurt people are. And I definitely feel that. I see that a lot of those situations were like a bazillion times worse than anything I've ever had. And I don't want to excuse anyone's poor behavior at all. It is still definitely on them, to manage their own behavior. Ultimately, it is our responsibility to protect ourselves and to not be so emotionally invested or overextend ourselves financially or time-wise or anything like that, that we can help mitigate the risk of that happening again. And you can get on YouTube and find a ton of videos just talking about how we put our own expectations on other people and how it always 10 out of 10 times gives poor results. We can get angry at those people who don't meet our expectations. We can be hurt by those people, and those people might not have any clue why we're upset, and it could lead to long-term problems. One of the things I have done is I'm really working towards, and I'm not perfect at it, but definitely not putting myself in that position and realizing and thinking through it a little more. And it's easy to get overcome, I think, in this very generous time of year when you do see opportunities for you to make and create and show your love through the effort it took you to make something. Very easy to get caught up and wrapped up into that, and which is a good thing. It's totally a good thing. It is, but mistakes can definitely be made. So in order to not get myself into that position where I could be expecting someone to treat an item different, I'm really thinking about things differently. I did this last year for the most part. I only made a few hats for a few different people. So right there, I limited the amount of people. I made very, very simple hats, so not a lot of time was involved at all. And then I used yarns from my stash that, of course, you know, I tried to tailor the color to the person, but yarns that were older in my stash that I had realized like I really wasn't going to use for myself and really weren't doing me any good. And that also, you know, maybe I got on clearance for super cheap, something like that, where to me that yarn didn't have as much perceived value to me. Again, limiting my investment in the project, but also walking into it knowing that, number one, this person might not care for it. It might get thrown in their closet or donated or anything like that, never to see the light of day. And I once heard a comment from, do you remember that woman who was doing the like organizing videos, Marie Kondo? And she was talking to people that were holding on to gifts too long and not wanting to get rid of them. And she was explaining that the purpose of that gift is just to be given. And once that is done, the obligation is basically over. And, you know, that does seem applicable, or more applicable maybe in certain situations than others. I mean, it definitely doesn't seem to hold the weight compared to some of the horror stories that I read in my video. But ultimately, when I was giving those hats for the Christmas gifts, I knew full well going into it, the whole point was for me to be giving a gift to this person, and then I can let it go and they can decide what to do with it from there. I used yarns as well that didn't have any type of special washing instructions. Even though I did write on each one what the washing instructions were, I made sure to not use anything that could be damaged easily, because even though I value washing something properly and wouldn't want something to get ruined, not everyone has that. Some people just want to throw everything on the washer and dryer and never think about it again. So one more layer of protection there. For me, it's very important to maintain the relationships I have in my life. I have lost a lot of family, and so the people that I am close to, I want to continue that, and I don't want there to be hard feelings on my part that I would be harboring towards them getting in the way of our relationships. Nor would I want like guilt on their part about taking something that, you know, they didn't really like or were never going to use, or, you know, whatever. I don't want that getting in the way either. Ultimately, I really think going into this gift giving season, having zero expectations out of people may sound absolutely crazy, but I really think it's the best way to preserve relationships and my sanity and my emotions, in that I'm not putting myself at risk. I was very mindful last year and did those small, easy, fast projects, but along those same lines, I have seen a lot of videos of really cute little things like tiny little stockings and just cute little like ornament type of things used on gift toppers, and I absolutely love that idea. I would love it if someone put that on my gift, but that's actually something that I won't be doing. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion, I'm not sure. I know, especially with there being a lot of men in the family, you know, they probably aren't going to care that much or really look, at least the ones in my family, probably aren't going to care that much about the cute wrapping and the detail of how it's all packaged up. And even though like those particular items only take a few minutes, maybe 10-15 minutes to make, I'm also not going to be doing that, because I know that even though maybe it was like super cheap yarn and it was scrap yarn and I spent 10 minutes on it, but I know that I would be like looking down, staring at the packaging on the floor, all crumpled up, seeing my little stocking or whatever in there, and then, like staring at it instead of looking at the person and making it awkward, and then, probably like accidentally groaning or making a disgruntled noise when all of the paper and all of the wrapping and the ribbons get wadded up and thrown in a trash bag. So for me, that is another way that I'm not going to be putting myself in a position to expect someone to cherish an item that I made. Relationships can be a funny thing, and just navigating a lifetime of relationships with friends and family can be quite challenging at times. And I have decided that those are more important to me than expecting someone to love something I make. And you've probably heard me say, if this isn't your first video, and if it is your first video, welcome, thank you for watching. But if this isn't your first video, you will know that I have really made the switch to making more things for myself out of yarns I love and colors I love, and really diving a little deeper into the, what do I want to say, like the depth of the project for myself. So maybe investing a little bit more in the yarn, doing something a little bit more difficult, or just a more extensive pattern, maybe something with more pieces and more sewing together. There's 100 different ways probably that you could deep dive into a project for yourself and probably get way more satisfaction out of it than, making things that are simple and fast and maybe feel a little bit more mass produced, even though it's handmade by you. But if you just whipped through them, I hope that's coming out right. If crocheting something for Christmas is really important to you, maybe make like a beautiful shawl for yourself, or a beautiful poncho, something in Christmas colors that you can wear that day. Or maybe consider like something for the family that's basically just for a picture. Maybe you could all have matching stocking caps, something like that, where you're taking a picture, but then the whole point of it is for that picture. And, what happens to the hats happens to the hats. You have that lasting picture. You can put it up on social media. You could send it out in next year's Christmas card, whatever. The biggest takeaway, though, that I want you to have from this is that we ourselves can be so much meaner and harsher and crueler, more cruel to ourselves than anyone else would be. And while I'm saying don't impose your expectations and values on other people, I would very much encourage you to look at that and be kind and supportive and gentle to yourself, and look at the expectations you're putting on yourself as we enter these next few weeks. There is not a ton of time between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and maybe some of your events are ahead of time. So really look closely at that and really decide if what you're doing is reasonable for you, if it is going to harm you. I know that sounds maybe a little bit drastic, but if you're staying up late, if you are neglecting other things, if you are not being mindful of your budget, those are ways that it could harm you. So really be mindful of that and extend yourself the same love and courtesy and kindness that you would someone else. Like, would you expect your sweet grandma to crank out 10 hats, in 2 weeks' time? Would you expect your sweet elderly neighbor to make a massive blanket in a pattern she's never done before in a record amount of time? No, you probably wouldn't. So why are you imposing that onto yourself? Be realistic and be gentle, and don't devastate yourself. Don't let this holiday season end in disappointment or despair or anything like that. There's just no need for it. I just want you to be kind to yourself. And while we may think that we're being kind and loving, giving our crocheted or knitted items to a family member, sometimes the kindest thing is to not give them that. If it's going to lead to problems in the relationship based on what your expectations are and their expectations are, it's just not worth it. I have a feeling this might be a video that not everyone agrees with, and that's totally fine. I am okay with that. This is just where I stand and kind of where I'm at in my personal growth journey as kind of a recovering people pleaser, and just trying to learn about boundaries and like the acceptable places to put those boundaries. Hope that this can be helpful for you if you are facing similar things like me and deciding kind of what you want to do and how you want to go about this holiday season. This is where I'm at. I don't think anyone is going to get any crocheted gifts from me for Christmas. I did see some very, very cute yarn by a different Shannon from another yarn. And she had posted a big twist value yarn, and I think it's called like Merry Mingle. And that was like absolutely adorable, and Joann's had it for like $2.99, and I kind of want to make my daughter a hat out of that, but I would give it to her before Christmas. She has some older hats from me that I have made along my crochet journey, and some of them are looking maybe a little bit worse for wear, so that might be about the only Christmas type of project I make this year. I don't think my recipients, while everyone was gracious with the hats they got last year, I really don't think they need them this year. Maybe in another year, maybe a couple years, I can give them a refresher hat if I feel like that's something I want to do. I did want to add in real quick that in the comments of that one video, there were definitely some comments there regarding Christmas and holiday decor type items, stockings in particular, and that seemed to be also a little bit of a hot button. I feel like that's kind of a tough place to be in. I feel like those items could be amazing heirloom items if, you know, made out of the right yarn and also the right pattern and, you know, are taken care of well. I wish I had a Christmas tree skirt that my grandma made so long ago. It was sewn. It wasn't crocheted or anything, but you know, it is long gone, and like every year I feel like a little pang in my heart that I wish I had that, just out of sentiment. It wasn't like it was anything mind-blowingly amazing. It was just something she had sewn, and so I do think there is a lot of value in heirloom items, but again, because I value it doesn't mean that someone else would. And I think the other issue is that we are competing in that department with a lot of machine-made items, and obviously, you know, you're looking at a lot of knitted stuff, but you know, any big box store has tons of that stuff. So you really run the risk there of people not understanding the amount of effort that went into it. Even if it is a very close loved one, they just might get it. So I do want to just throw a little bit of caution at you regarding those homemade decor items as well. You know, if it is something you are making for your own family and you can keep for years and years, I think that would be wonderful. Knock your socks off. But if it's something for other people, it did seem like that is definitely an area where again, it falls into that area where you could be setting yourself up for some unfortunate heartbreak by expecting more out of the people that it's gifted to. So I do wish you the very best out of this holiday season, and I look forward to talking yarn again with you soon. Bye.